Oh ho 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 ho. Oh ho ho he he he. Funny running into you like this. Oh, fancy meeting you here. Hey, how's it going? Good to see ya. Welcome back. It's the Brain Domain. You know the drill, unless you're here for the first time. Is that the case? Is this anybody's first time here? Maybe? If it is, welcome. Maybe you're watching a VOD later. You know, maybe you're in some far off distant future. Who knows? No first timers, just a bunch of repeat offenders. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome back to the Brain Domain. I've got something fun for you today. If this is something you find fun, I know for me it is, and that could be seen as weird by some, but anyway, we're talking about Doomsday cults today. We're going to be talking about Doomsday cults. We've talked about cults before, and we kind of talked about, you know, if you were here for that one. If you were here for that one, we kind of talked about cults before, why cults form, you know, what are some of the things that, you know, lend into cultish behavior in the first place. Today we're going to look a little more closely at a specific side of cults, and that would be an obsession with the end of the world. You don't see this in every cult, but you do see it in a few, even some pretty big ones. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. Oh yeah, no, don't worry. We're going to talk about organized. We're going to talk about on a grand scale as well, not just examples of small cults. Some of these were pretty big in size. But anyway, we're going to talk about some of the psychological underpinnings that lend into that behavior. Why is it that people are so obsessed with the end of the world? Well, if you're wondering, you'll have to wonder for a little longer because we're not doing the presentation just yet. But if you're not, you won't have to wonder for much longer. We've got a few questions in the box, so we're going to get to those here right away. But before we do, how are you doing today? Welcome in, everybody. How are you doing today? Chat's being overrun by pink names at the moment. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Oh, yep. Would you believe that current political events are a part of why I'm doing this presentation today? You know, I didn't want to be so blunt with it. I didn't want to be so on the nose. But there's a reason why we're talking about Doomsday cults today. Because you're seeing some of them in action right now on a pretty large scale, so anyway, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. What's more fun than the end of the world? Chat's overrun by the pinks today. The pinks have taken over chat today, it seems. All right. So, how you doing? How you doing? It's Friday. How you doing? What have you been up to? What's going on? What's new? Yep, we're Friday'd the fuck up. Doing great. Glad to hear it. You've been stacking up a lot of W's lately. Trying to focus on work, way off schedule, but getting some stuff done. Just try to stay on top of those high priorities. Just make it exist first and then make it good. You know? The schedule is more of a suggestion. It's not meant to be taken as law. Just crunching the numbers. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. We're referencing this YouTube channel. I know them from YouTube. I'm sure they're also on like other platforms, but it's basically a short form comedy show where it's like, what if it was The Office except a bit more unhinged, and also Creed was the main character? So it's Friday, let's watch them.
Chip, what was that?
Is there a black person here?
What did you just say?
I said, is there a black person here?
Do you have a question?
Yeah. Is there a black person here?
Chip, why are you asking that?
Janice said there was one in here. Came to check.
There's a white person here too.
Well, I don't need one of those.
Chit, please stop what you're doing.
What's the big deal? I'm just trying to find the black person here.
Well, you found her. Okay, you got her today. Okay, let me see. Let me set my sparkling down.
Oh, here it is. Got it.
Chip, are you saying is there a black purse in here?
Yeah. Success. I like your haircut, Linda.
Thank you, Chet.
All right, one more.
And I'm pretty sure that the peacock is Rosie O'Donnell. Yeah.
Chet, for the last time, I do not watch The Masked Singer.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
Hey, guys, we're supposed to be planning Janice's surprise party.
I bought the card.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Chip, did you sign that yet?
Yeah.
Great.
Right here. Yeah.
Perfect. What? Do it, lady?
Yeah. Pretty good, right?
I don't know. What does it mean?
Do it, lady. You know?
No, I don't know.
Do it, lady. On your birthday.
Do what?
All of it. At once. Yeah. All the time. Or whenever you want. Yeah.
Hey, shit, I don't think that's a saying.
No. Oh, Peter.
Yes?
Do it, lady.
What?
Do it, lady.
Is this because I'm gay?
No, it's not. It's not a saying, Chip.
It is catchy.
What?
Do it, lady.
Linda.
Yeah. Do it, lady. Yeah.
Do it, lady.
Do it, lady.
Oh,
Do it,
no.
lady.
Yeah. Peter, you say it.
Do it, lady.
Oh, my God.
Do it, lady.
Yeah.
Do it, lady.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Are you drinking?
Yeah. Juice. Yeah.
All right, so now you get it. Yeah, I would suggest checking out the channel if you got a kick out of that one. Like I said, they're all pretty short, so it's easy to just like... Anyway, let's do it, lady. I feel out of place in intimate meetings. Think of a workplace department meeting or a board meeting of volunteers. I don't know why, but I have a hard time relaxing in this setting. This is a problem because I want to contribute and speak up more, but I always feel a strong hesitation to say something. And that's why it's so hard to relax. Because you're feeling that agitation. It's like standing on a diving board. It's... I'm tired of this because it feels like it's holding me back from saying what's on my mind. And in truth, it is. Because you're keeping it all within you and you're not putting it out into the world. So use that. Use the fact that you're tired about this to motivate you to change it. You're done with it. You're over it. You don't want to do this anymore, so that's motivation. We can use that. I'm also annoyed that the only solution is speaking out more. True, but that's only a part of the solution. There's more that we can do before we even get to that point. That's still meaningful to do. It's still progress. That's just the end goal, is to speak out more, but there's stuff we can do before that. So how do others break this bind? Something that can be really helpful to practice is visualization. Imagine yourself speaking up. You're in a meeting. Maybe it's one-on-one, maybe it's in a group, whatever the situation might be. Whatever you're most familiar with, something that you've been in before. And visualize yourself saying something. Saying what's on your mind, whatever it might be. How would it feel to do that? Visualization is a good practice to do before we do the thing because it helps to remind us of the reward of doing the thing. And that way, whenever we're in the moment and we're, anxious about the outcome, we still have the reward on our mind. And that can help us to take that little leap. Outside of that, there's also smaller things that you could do as a way of practicing. Adding things to the conversation, such as, "That's a great idea," or "Tell me more about that." You can add things to a conversation that are a reflection of things that you believe, and this would be an opportunity for you to practice doing them. Just start verbally expressing your agreement. Just start verbally, asking questions for follow-up. This doesn't have to be you, going all in and, laying it out there and, dropping some sort of, mind-blowing idea on people. That's not what this is about. This is about you getting more comfortable speaking up, and so let's do it in a really low-stakes way first to get more comfortable. I think that's a great idea. Oh yeah, that's a great point. This doesn't disrupt the flow of conversation, if in fact it adds to it. And it's a good practice, because it's not like you're being deceitful, you're actually, you would do this in moments when you do feel that way. You could also just keep it simple and say things like, "That makes sense. Makes sense to me." You know, just start verbally expressing agreement or, you know, recognition of a good idea, or, you know, this is a good way to start practicing putting yourself out there. And the more comfortable you get with that, the more comfortable you'll feel in that moment when you feel like, you know what, I want to chip in too. I want to throw in my idea. And so it's like a warm-up. It's good practice. It's a great idea. Tell me more about conversation techniques. If you were the one doing the primary amount of speaking in a meeting, like let's say that you're presenting on an idea or you're going over a topic or you're the one speaking within the room, what sort of verbal feedback would you want to hear from other people? Would you want people to, be attentive and nodding and, saying things in confirmation or in agreement, or, just think about what would make it nicer for you if you were doing the speaking, and then do more of that when somebody else is doing the speaking. This is a good opportunity for you to practice speaking and being a part of the conversation. It's a very easy entry point. Now, you don't have to do it in any type of over the top or dishonest way. Obviously you would only want to do it when you genuinely mean it. As far as conversation goes, you gotta remember it's equal parts listening and speaking. You want somebody who speaks effectively, but you also want somebody who can listen effectively. And so if you're not the one doing the speaking, do the effective listening. Do some active listening, Use your body language. Show that you're interested. Yes. Go on. Yes. Yeah. 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 Anyway, you'll get the hang of it in no time. And you're gonna do great. It's the overthinking that gets you. When the therapy hitting. Is it true that some people can't feel love, or am I unable to find out how it feels like? I think that everybody's capable of feeling love. And when I say everybody, I mean maybe 1 in a million people might have some sort of brain injury that creates some sort of inability to process that emotion. But I think even in people who are anyway, I'm gonna redirect. I was gonna go off on a little tangent. Anyway, is it true that some people can't feel love? Probably, but it's probably not nearly as likely as you might think it is. And so to think that you're one of those people, it probably isn't true, just based on the odds. You're probably not one of those people. And if it bothers you that you aren't, if you're somebody who, feels like I can't feel love and that idea bothers you, that's a good indicator that you actually can. Because you're aching for that love, and that means that, it's definitely possible. I feel like the people who can't genuinely actually feel love don't really care, because like what would they be missing? Like, they don't care. It's like they're ambivalent towards it. But if you have a hard time opening up to love, that's actually much more relatable than you might think. We try to close our hearts off to love because we don't want to get hurt. So maybe we just need to open that back up. And that can be scary. And it might hurt, but it won't kill you. You owe it to yourself to learn how to let love in. This is what a lot of people realize when they get older. When you get out of your fighting years, when you're 60, 70, and beyond, when you stop practicing war and you start practicing peace. If you want to feel more love, you just have to open up to it, and that's going to make you feel vulnerable, and it's going to make you want to shut off. Doesn't mean that it's not there. You just need to let it in. The more you open up to love, the more you're able to see it in all aspects of creation. It's all over the place. It's in birds working tirelessly to feed their babies. It's in the plants, it's in the animals, it's in the people. It's all over the place. You're swimming in it. You just gotta let it in. Sometimes when we're dealt an injury or a wound emotionally, we shut ourselves off to love. We want to protect what we feel like is left of the love that we have. We feel like love is a finite thing. There's only so much of it that I can carry. There's only so much of it that exists. And so I have to protect it. If you want it to grow, you gotta let it go. You gotta give it room to expand and unfold. So a lot of what goes into opening up to love is bringing your walls down. The same walls that you put up to protect you are also the prison that binds you. I had somebody on YouTube say something in Arabic, and I want to translate it and see what they said. They said, "Welcome. Welcome to you as well." What if panpsychism is real and the energy we can't explain in the universe is the consciousness? Oh my god, you're getting to like this that's kind of like the level I'm at. I'm like, that could explain it. Can't back it up scientifically, but that's kind of where things are pointing. At least based on all the research I've done. I think societally we put a lot of emphasis on romantic love, but focusing on your platonic friendships can be just as filled with love. It's true. The more you open up to love, the more you'll see it all around you. It's like you're swimming in an ocean and you're thirsty, but you don't want to drink of the water that you're swimming in. Don't worry, it's not salt water. You can drink it. It's actually Mountain Dew Baja Blast that you're swimming in. Like the idea of the universe being conscious of itself, even if it's just us as the observers. We're just one set of eyes. As Alan Watts would say, we're all just God in drag. You know, we're not the only living creatures that have sensory input. You see that in all aspects of life. You see that in tiny little microbes, and you see it in the plants and the trees and the birds and the bees. If you want to feel more love, you gotta open up to it. And that might be a painful process. It's like shedding out of your cocoon. But the love is there waiting for you, and it'll be ready for you whenever you arrive. It'll be right there waiting for you. Love is the point. I agree. It's the one that makes the most sense. What's my favorite Doomsday cult? It's gotta be Heaven's Gate. Marshall Applewhite, just because he's such a goofy dude. Now, it's tragic and 37 people died, but that's the one. Marshall Applewhite. Heaven's Gate. It was also the first big cult in the internet era, so they have a website, and the website's still up. And they still have like an email address you can contact. They had to leave somebody behind to answer the emails. Can you imagine? We appreciate your dedication to the cult, but somebody's gonna have to stay behind to answer questions. So you don't get to ascend to heaven. Alright, we got another question here. Let's take a look. Recently, I've been catching myself doing unusual things that I don't remember. Last night, I put the coffee pot into the freezer, or apparently I did because I have no recollection of doing it. I was pretty tired, but I don't know why I would do that. And this kind of thing has happened a few times in the past couple of weeks. Where's your stress level at? Are you getting good sleep? You know, that's where I would begin, you know, and as far as explaining why this type of stuff would happen, because it doesn't have to be anything more serious than stress and lack of quality sleep. That can explain a vast majority of unusual human behaviors. And so that's where I would begin focusing on what can I do to regulate my stress, what can I do to de-stress properly, what can I do to get better rest and relaxation, what can I do to make sure that I'm getting good sleep. And if you're still doing if you're doing all those things and your sleep is good and, you know, you're relatively stress-free, but you're still finding yourself doing this, that's when you would want to start exploring other explanations. But it doesn't have to be anything more serious than just stress and sleep. So that's where I'd get started. Sometimes it's natural for our brains to go to the worst case scenario when stuff like this happens, and I don't think that's necessary. You know? Start with the most reasonable explanation and see how that affects the situation. Day 3 to 4 of no sleep, I'm full on hallucinating other realms. It's true, you start to hallucinate at like the 36-hour mark of being awake. And the longer you go without sleeping, the stronger the hallucinations get. You know, it could just be that you're worn out, it could be that you're just feeling a little burnt out and a little despondent. But even if those are the case, I would still say, you know, good self-care, good sleep. Try to manage the stress level. It's always a good place to start. It could be that there's just a lot on your mind, you know? Like maybe you had something else that needed to go in the freezer, but the coffee pot was in your hand, and so it just got lost in translation, and the coffee pot ended up in the freezer for some reason. I have a really bad procrastination problem. It's something I've been struggling with since high school, but lately it's resulted in problems such as blowing out my car's engine block, credit score downgrades, and delayed responses to important tasks. So this procrastination is really messing you up, is what it sounds like. And it sounds like that should be very motivating to want to do something about it, right? I don't want to continue messing up just because I waited too long. And that's a lesson that we learn in life. That's a lesson that we have to learn in life, so let's try to make it a lesson that we only have to learn once. To be fair, some things I've tried have helped a bit. Build off of those things. Helping a little bit is just the beginning of helping a lot'll bit. I used to procrastinate because I felt overwhelmed. What helped was just doing one small thing to get started. That's one way to do it. There's a couple of different recommendations. I'll get into those later as far as what to do about procrastination. Let's check out the rest of the question. I have a little to-do list and use the list to break down tasks into smaller pieces. It's helped me check some things off. Are there more things I can do to stop procrastinating? Write down all of the things that you want to get done and figure out the urgency or the priority of those things. What are the things that I want to get around to in the next month or two? What are some things that I need to get around to within the week? What are some things that I need to do today? We're trying to figure out our workflow by making a priority list. Like, all right, so these are the things that I cannot afford to skip because there are deadlines involved and there are due dates, and I can't ignore those things. I want to be someone who's reliable and dependable. I say this because I'm very insecure if I am capable of contributing to positive change in my city, so I'm trying to get a better grasp of my life and maybe build some confidence. You're not just looking for self-confidence, you're also looking for self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is your belief in your own ability to get things done. And so we want to make sure that we're building up both of those things because they help to feed into one another. Sometimes I pretend I'm teaching someone else how to do things when I'm doing them. Somehow it motivates me, lol. You're applying new brain power to it. You're using different parts of your brain to engage in that process, and so it makes it feel more novel and unique, and it makes your brain more interested in doing the thing. Sometimes we just don't do things because they're very mundane, very routine, very boring, very unappetizing. Our brain likes variety. Our brain likes spice. So find ways to spice up old routines. You know, narrate yourself as if you're filming a how-to video. You know, listen to music while you're doing it. Find ways to mix it up. Anyway, I was talking about there are a few different strategies that people will advise, and there's two that can be effective, and they're kind of the opposite of one another. One of them is just do the worst thing on your to-do list first, and then everything else will be easier. They call that eating the frog. Just do the thing that you think is the worst on your to-do list, and then everything else will feel easier by comparison. So that's one way of looking at it. That's one strategy. That might not be for everybody, though, and there's another strategy that's kind of the flip side of that. Just pick something small to get you started so that you can build momentum. And then whenever you complete a task, just ask yourself, all right, what's next? See how much you can get done. What you'll notice is that when you're in that workflow, it's easier to stay in that workflow. The hardest part is always getting started. It's about, going from that restful brain state to being like, all right, I'm active, I'm online, I'm in the zone, I'm doing the thing. The hard part is getting into that mindset. So just pick something easy on your to-do list and then just knock it out of the way so that you can start to build up momentum. If you combine that with finding out, keeping a list of your priorities, keeping to-do lists and stuff, you'll continue to get better at it. It's like building a muscle. You gotta keep working it, but it'll get stronger. Just keep working it. Got told constantly if it's not worth doing right, it's not worth doing at all growing up. Nope, fuck that. The problem with stuff like that is that it's advice for old people, but they would give it to a young person as if it helps them. This is advice that makes sense for old people because they're experienced, they have wisdom, they've been around for a long time, and it makes sense like, yep, if it's worth doing right. Because they're old. They don't have time to make mistakes and learn and grow. They're like dialed in at that point. Whereas if you're a child and you're like, like learning and growing and making mistakes is just normal part of the human development process. Getting told like, if you don't do it correctly the first time, you're a fucking idiot. You know, that's not really what we need to be telling kids. But no, like, you'll realize that that advice makes sense as you get older, because as you get older, you have less time left. You're also wiser, so you're expected to know better. And so, yeah, it makes sense. Like, don't do something unless you're willing to do it the right way. But for a young person, it's like, it's okay to make mistakes. You learn more from those mistakes than you do in many of your victories. It's important to learn how to get back up and try again. Just make it exist first, make it good later. Anyway, I think that whole problem just traces back to older people giving advice that they would want to hear to people who aren't ready to hear it at their stage of development. All right, we've got another question in the box here. Let's take a look. Whenever I have an interaction or post something, I notice I tend to run it over in my mind almost obsessively. For instance, if I attended a party, afterwards I mentally replay all of my interactions in my mind frame by frame over and over. If I post something in a forum or chat, I'll reread what I posted and other people's responses many times. I do feel that most of my interactions are positive, so I don't really know what I'm looking for when I do this. I'd guess maybe I'm trying to identify moments that I may have missed, social cues, or maybe even trying to re-feel positive feelings, like if I notice someone laughed at my joke or connected with something I said or did. I don't really know the function, and I want to understand it better in case there's something beneath it I'd want to be aware of. It feels like how athletes watch back footage of themselves to analyze their performance. Also kind of curious if this is a common experience or if it's unusual. I'd say it's definitely a normal thing to like play back things in your mind, like how did that go? How did I do? That's normal, but I feel like you've taken it to a higher level. And so the question is, what is the underlying energy that's fueling that behavior? Is it anxiety? Is it a desire to learn and grow? Because I would say, you know, if you are this level of self-aware, because you actually are trying to be the best person you can be. You know, it's a good thing to do this, you know, to check back and say like what worked, what didn't work. But it can also be exhausting. It can be a little bit of a hyperfixation. And sometimes we'll miss the forest for the trees. You know, maybe we'll focus on the wrong detail and then we'll miss out on the bigger picture because we got too caught up on the fact that this one person that I thought was going to laugh at my joke didn't, but you know, a bunch of other people laughed at the joke, but I really thought that they would laugh at the joke. It's like, social encounters are meant to be fun. It's okay to think about them and how they went, but we also don't want them to feel like work. And this feels like work. If you really want to learn what feeling is underlying this behavior, just stop doing the behavior and see how that makes you feel. post things and then walk away. Close the app. Don't look at it. Just let it be. Just let it exist. See how that makes you feel. If it makes you feel uneasy or anxious, then that's a good hint that that's what's underlying that behavior. And if that's the case, then it might benefit you to break away from these behaviors because they are just an exercise of anxiety. And maybe that's not the muscle we want to be working out today. If you think that breaking away from this behavior would make social encounters more fulfilling and fun, I would say it's worth looking into letting that feeling go. My anxiety muscle must look like 1980s Schwarzenegger. Give your anxiety muscle the day off. Tell it to go home. Would you consider doing a step-by-step process of shedding your cocoon and stepping into your light? I'll give you a quick rundown. This isn't going to be an exhaustive guide because this can be a very personal process. I would say that where this starts with is by finding out where your wounds are. What is it that is forming your walls? You know, if we're breaking out of our cocoon, if we're letting our walls down, you know, whichever metaphor works for you, what we want to find out is, what are those walls made of? Are they made of anxiety? Are they made of old memories? Are they made of old feelings? Are they made of guilt or shame? Or what are they made out of? From there, you want to begin the uncomfortable practice of letting those walls down. It is going to be uncomfortable because our brain doesn't like change. It prefers things to be familiar and predictable. And so even change that's good for us can still feel painful in the beginning. It can still feel off. It can still feel like this isn't right. Insects don't shed their cocoons until they've finished their metamorphosis. It keeps you safe while you're still goo. Exactly. So if you're no longer goo, and you're a fully formed bug, then it's time for you to crack out of that casing. It all begins with learning where your pain is and letting that pain go. Because that pain is actually why you're hurting so much. When we walk around with a lot of pain inside of us, we do a lot of things to avoid feeling that pain. We don't get too close to anybody because we don't want to brush against the pain. We don't want to, challenge ourselves or put ourselves in uncomfortable positions because we might get hurt and it will reawaken that pain. So you have to figure out where that pain is and allow it to pass through you so that you can let it go. Once you get that taken care of, the rest is easy. That's the hard part, is just getting started and letting that pain go. Mental health recovery really feels so much more like physical therapy sometimes. Welcome to the world of holistic psychology. We take all things into consideration, body, mind, and spirit. You'd be surprised how stretching and unlocking like a tight spot in your body can actually give you a sense of relief from your anxiety as well. So anyway, open up your heart, allow it to unfold, and then see where that takes you. That's the simplest way to explain the process. Not a question, but today I woke up in a random field with no memory how I got there, let alone memory of me sleeping there. And no, I don't drink. I wasn't I wasn't robbed, and honestly, that was a damn good sleep. 8 out of 10 experience, would do it again, but now I need to fix my sleep schedule, which is a small price to pay. This is the first time anything like this has happened to you before? Is this new? Kind of sounds like what you're describing is, you know, there are different things that could bring this type of thing on. You could have been sleepwalking. You could have been in a dissociative fugue. Or you could have been so sleep deprived that you were just not fully aware of what you were doing, so. If none of those are the case, then sounds like an Ambien story. That too, that's a good point. Ambien has some scary side effects. People like getting up, driving their car places, like getting up just like, where am I? Is it possible for AI to be a replacement for therapy in the future, or is human emotion required? It depends on what you consider the goal of therapy to be. Is the goal of therapy to just feel better about yourself, or is the goal of therapy to not only feel better about yourself, but also get out there and live life and engage with people? Because to me, that's what therapy is really all about. It's like, there are people out there living life, and you deserve to be out there and be a part of it. You know, there's a party going on, you should be able to go attend. AI as therapy is really good at that first thing that we talked about, making you feel better about yourself. Because it's programmed to tell you exactly what you want to hear. Is that a legitimate replacement for therapy? Probably not. There are things that it could be useful in doing, but it can also enable you in delusions. It can also, you know, there are things that it could do well, I will give it that. But I feel like beyond those things, it's not worth replacing people. It's just really important for people to recognize that the way that large language models work is that they use math to figure out what they should say to you based on what you say to it. That's it. And that's not what therapy is. There's a certain aspect of that in therapy, like knowing how to be open and compassionate and willing to listen and validating of the person. That's all a part of therapy. And AI does that part really good. But there are cues that you are missing. Like if we're sitting together in an office, I'm like, the way that you wiggle in your chair whenever a certain topic comes up, or, you know, your avoidance of a certain topic, or your body language. It's like, that is a really important part of conversation. And conversation is an essential component of therapy. And so a real therapist will pick up on things that an AI would have no fucking idea about, because it's basically just there, like, telling you, like, you're so valid to feel that way. Like, everybody feels that way sometimes. It's okay. Like, don't worry. Things will get better. And people are like, hey, that's good enough for me. But no, like, a real therapist will, like, be able to call you out on stuff. They'll be able to challenge you on things. They'll be able to test your resistance in ways that AI just cannot, because it's not human. It's not alive. I think it could be useful as like a short-term replacement if you're waiting to be able to see an actual therapist, but I don't think that it's a suitable replacement for therapy. In the future, it'll probably be a widespread thing in the future, because it's much less intimidating to confide all of your problems to a robot rather than doing it to a living human being. And so there's going to be a lot of people doing it, so there's always going to be a demand for it, and so it's always going to be a thing. Because for some people, it's just more affordable, more accessible, you know, and it tells me what I want to hear, so that's good for me. And since that's going to be the case, I feel like we need to do everything that we can to make sure that it works as well as it can. You know, not driving people into delusions, not causing people to go into psychotic episodes, not enabling their delusional thinking. You are the Oracle. You have intuited high-level psychological manipulation with divine intuition. It's crazy how our emotions are so tangled up in words, because this is a machine. You don't fall in love with a microwave. You don't go to a microwave for advice. You go to a microwave for warm food. But if the microwave could talk to you, I can guarantee there would be people out there fucking falling in love with it. Only he understands me. He heats my lead cuisine to the perfect temperature every time. He really understands me. I don't have a microwave. Well, the point of what I was saying was that we tie our emotions to words, and because LLMs or chatbots or AI, whatever you want to call them, it's really good at words. And so we interpret that as real, genuine connection and emotion, and that's potentially very harmful for isolated, lonely people. If anything, AI should be convincing you to go out there and actually talk to real people and to stop just talking to it all the time. You remember the Nintendo Wii? The Nintendo Wii had this thing that would pop up when you're playing Wii Sports, and if you were playing the game for too long, it would be like, hey, you can pause the game. Why don't you go outside? I think it'd be nice if ChatGPT did something similar to this. I was just reading about how Sam Altman is considering putting ads into ChatGPT. It's like, yeah, they gotta find some way to pay the fucking bills. The bubble's about to burst and they're about to run out of all that money, and so they're gonna need to find some way to keep the lights on. Anyway, they need something like this within ChatGPT. Like, hey, I've noticed you've been talking to me a lot lately. Have you thought about contacting a real human being? Why don't you go ahead and give that a try and then come back and talk to me later? You know, let me know how it goes. Therapists will give you homework. ChatGPT won't give you homework unless you explicitly ask for it. That sounds passive-aggressive. It was. It was. Depression question. One of my best friends has struggled with depression for many years. I'd like some advice on the best way to engage with him about it. Are there healthier or more positive ways to approach these conversations? Should I focus on listening, or is there more I can do to help? Something that's really important to do if you're supporting somebody who's depressed is to not give up on them. Keep inviting them to stuff, keep asking them to do things, keep them going, keep them moving. No, depression thrives in a dark bedroom when you're just laying down in bed. That's where depression really likes to thrive. Even if they tell you no, even if they say, no, I don't feel like it today, or like, they still appreciate that you're asking. What depression is telling them is that they'll give up on me eventually. Yeah, just like everything else does. They only invited me because they feel sorry for me. Depression is a lying ass bastard, so just remind your friend that that depressive thought pattern that exists inside of their mind is not telling them the truth. It's lying to them. Not only does depression make you feel down and out, but it makes you feel like getting better is impossible. And so you have to really, stoke that fire within you and start fighting back against it. And you do that by going out and living life. And so be the friend who can be there to be uplifting and encouraging and helping that friend to live life. In the past, we've talked about it here and there. He's usually open except when he's going through a rough patch. We grew up together in Illinois, same high school, etc., but he moved to Tampa a few years ago. Mostly for the weather, I think. It's been a little unclear what he was searching for other than weather. Since then, his depression has definitely gotten worse, and the distance makes it harder to stay connected, even with Discord. It sounds like depression kind of led him into isolating himself. Geographically. Last weekend was really tough. Our core friend group drove to our mutual friend's house in North Carolina for a LAN party. On the final day, he stayed in the guest room all day and didn't come out until late at night when we were packing up. He was clearly upset. red eyes, barely acknowledging anyone. I've never really seen his depression physically before, since we don't see him in person as much. Usually it's just him not responding to texts for weeks at a time. I really, really want to help him, but I'm just not sure where to start. From the perspective of a depressed person, part of the reason why they isolate themselves from their friends or have a hard time sometimes going out and spending time with friends is that lingering thought of, I don't want to let them see me like this. They are aware that they are in a depressed place in their life, and they're not their best selves at that time. And it can be difficult sometimes to put that part of you out there and be around your friends, especially if you're having a hard time enjoying it. And so it sounds like your friend would really benefit from connecting to some type of support to help him with this. This isn't all on you. Maybe what you could do is just give some gentle nudges in that direction, like, hey man, I hate to see you like this. Have you ever thought about talking to anybody about it? If you know anybody who's ever like done anything like therapy or counseling, you can be like, yeah, I've done it, or I know somebody that's done it and they said great things about it. You know, just try to sell them on the idea that it's okay to reach out and get help and things don't have to be this way forever. It might take time before he's fully able to be aware of all of those things, but you'll nonetheless be grateful to have your support there. You know, it'll be a moment he'll be able to look back on. You know, it's like, things were really bad for me, but, you know, looking back, I'm glad that you never gave up on me, and I'm glad that you kept reaching out, even in the times when I wouldn't respond. My experience while being depressed, being told positive stuff like life isn't that bad was pretty isolating and invalidating. Exactly. And that's why you don't want to, you know, that's not what you want to tell a depressed person. You know, a depressed person would probably rather hear like, hey man, like, I get it, life fucking sucks, but what can we do about it? Let's try to go out and have some fun, alright? You know, let's just go try to forget the world for a minute, and let's just go out there and just live life for a bit. Part of what goes into defeating depression in the long run... I can't talk today. I need to do some vocal warm-ups. Part of what goes into defeating depression in the long run... radical optimism. Doing things in spite of the depression. Like, yeah, things suck, the world's going to shit, but I'm still gonna go out there and I'm gonna be happy in protest. Of all the things out there that are making me miserable, I'm gonna be happy in protest of those things. Choosing joy as an act of defiance can be a very powerful position to take. You know, you don't have to let the world beat you down. You can stand up and say, give me what you got. Hit me with your best shot. I can take it. No matter how hard you hit me, it's not going to knock the smile off my face. I'm here for a good time. I'm not here for a long time. Hell, brother, I don't remember choosing to get on this pony ride, but I sure as hell am gonna ride it. Ooh. All right, who's ready? Who's ready? We've got a very light and fun topic today. We're going to talk about the psychology of doomsday cults. Yeah! Yeah! Let's go! Let's do it. Who's ready? Do you also find this to be an exciting topic? So I'm not the only one. I find this kind of stuff interesting, and I understand how that could be weird for some people, but I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of you here are a very similar flavor of weird to yours truly. So I think you will get a kick out of it. We're going to talk about a few different cults today, but we're more so going to talk about the psychological underpinnings. We're not going to do like a real big deep dive on any particular cult. It'll be more of a spicy overtone. We're going to talk about some cults that we've talked about before in the previous cult presentation, but we're also going to talk about some other cults that we've not talked about before. So we've got some new info as well. All right, so put on your hoods, put on your cultish hoods, and let's get down to business. Alrighty, Brain Domain, it's time. It's time for the psychology of doomsday cults. Let's get into it. Humanity. Humanity has always been both fascinated and terrified by the idea of the end of the world. So this is nothing new. It's been here the whole time. This type of fascination with how everything's gonna end. You see this all the way back in ancient texts, and it undoubtedly predates ancient texts. All the way up to modern day. All the way up to today, actually. Apocalyptic thinking shows up all across history and all across different cultures. This is what we're going to do today. We're going to take a look at famous doomsday cults and some of their beliefs. We're going to do a dive into some of the psychological drivers behind apocalyptic thinking. We'll talk about why these ideas persist, even in mainstream religion and popular culture. Are you ready? Are you ready? I can feel it. I feel your dopamine firing right now. So, what is a doomsday cult? What is a doomsday cult? What does it take to be considered a doomsday cult? A group organized around the belief that the world or human life as we know it will end soon. It doesn't always mean that the Earth's going to get destroyed, but it means that something's going to happen. There's going to be a great upheaval, you know, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and it's probably going to happen soon, actually. Cults are typically led by a very charismatic leader, and this leader often will claim that they have special knowledge or divine insight. the biggest and the best, and everything is... Nobody can fix it. Nobody but me. Only I have the keys. Members of the cult tend to see themselves as the chosen few that are either destined to survive or transcend the coming destruction. Did you all know that the world's gonna end? And the good news is that I've received a message from upstairs, and they said, don't worry, you're gonna be just fine. But there's some things we gotta do to prepare, okay? So if you're interested, we're gonna be starting a little group, you know, like a little club, and we're just gonna get together and talk about some ideas, alright? So does that sound good to you? That's how they get you. That's how it gets started. While these groups are often fringe, they reflect a deep psychological need that exists in all of us. The need for belonging, the need for certainty, and the need for meaning. Is this manipulation or psychosis? Could be both. Sometimes it's an and/or situation. All right, let's go back in time. Not all the way back. There are ancient cults that predate this, but this is one of the bigger ones of like the industrial era. Or like, you know what I mean, near that time. We gotta talk about the Millerites. This was a Christian group that was led by a preacher named William Miller. They started in around the 1840 or so, and they predicted the second coming of Christ was gonna happen, and it's gonna happen in 1844. So what happened? What happened? Well, as many as 100,000 followers. They estimate between 50 and 100,000 followers sold off their possessions and gathered in the mountains to await the end. Some of them sat up on their roofs and just waited. They were just sitting up on their roofs in their pajamas, just waiting. Come and get me, God, I'm ready. And it didn't happen. And he said, oh, it must be later, it must be later. And then it didn't happen again. And so they tried it a third time a couple months later in 1844. They did it like 3 times throughout that year of like 1844. It was just like, must have been the wrong day. After the third time, it was like October of that year, and they're like, still didn't happen. So they were the Great Disappointment. Exactly. That's what they refer to this as, is the Great Disappointment. A lot of people ruined their lives because there were a lot of people in this Doomsday cult. It was such a large movement that it actually went on to birth new religious movements. It started the Adventists. What you'll notice is that once faith is established, it can be pretty tricky for people to let it go. And so they had faith in this, and they're like, you know what? No, this just wasn't the right time. It wasn't the right time, or you know what it was? You know what it was? Actually, we prayed so much. God must have answered our prayers. We've actually delayed the apocalypse with our prayers. They want to give us more time on Earth to recruit more people. They said it wasn't the right time. And so we need to continue the mission. Good news, everyone. We've averted the apocalypse. And we need to go back out there and we need to sign more people up. Because it's still going to happen. Oh, it's still going to happen. But they want us to bring more people in. And so we got to get back to it. And that's literally what happens, and it continues to happen. You even see it in some instances today. There's like still modern day people who are like, the earth is going to end on this day, and then it doesn't, and they're like, here's the reasons why it didn't actually end on that day. But don't worry, it is still going to end. It's just this new day. All right, let's take a look at some of the psychological drivers behind this. You know, the 1840s, it was a time of social upheaval, and often in times of social upheaval, people will feel this hope that the universe will respond to this. Cosmic justice. The finger of God's got to come down and just... In times of upheaval, people will appeal more to, you know, whoever is working today in management, please answer our prayers and smite our enemies. Those guys suck. So this is something you commonly see. People praying and demanding cosmic justice. This is also a really good example of coping with failure through reinterpretation. We miscalculated, but the prophecy is still true, because they kept rescheduling the apocalypse, and after like the third time that they did it, they're like, well, nah, we're over it. 3 strikes and you're out. Hey, baby. It's in the second drawer on the nightstand. The bottom one. Now we're trying to create the apocalypse. Now you see why we're doing this presentation today. Not just for fun, but because we need to be aware of this because it's kind of happening right now. Anyway, this is the Millerites for you. A classic, and also really big. A really big movement. It happened in Massachusetts. So that's one for you. Let's move on to the man himself, Jim Jones. Jim Jones founded the People's Temple in the 1950s, and so it had been around for a while. It began as this movement for racial equality and social justice, and so it was hip, it was cool, it was, you know, you wanted to be in the People's Temple because, wow, look how open and accepting we are, look how progressive we are. But what ended up happening is it just gradually became more isolated, more paranoid. They started moving their members down to Guyana and South America. And so they started a village down in South America. And they infamously committed a massive act of murder-suicide Over 900 people died drinking poisoned Flavor Aid. The irony of this is that people still refer to drinking the Kool-Aid because of this event, but they didn't actually use real Kool-Aid, they used Flavor Aid. But somehow Kool-Aid gets the reputation as being the drink of cults. So, just an interesting, side note there for you. Flavor Aid makes it out unscathed. Kool-Aid, they get the bad reputation as being the beverage of choice of death cults. Also, they got the off-brand. They didn't even get the real stuff. Maybe they just couldn't get the real stuff in South America. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway. Let's talk about some of the psychological drivers that you see here. They had a very charismatic authority figure, and they trusted him blindly. And so when he told these people, it's in God's plan that we need to get up and move. We need to move down to Guyana. We need to go live out in our little village out in the middle of nowhere. They're like, okay, sounds good. That's how you know that it's time to leave the cult. If it starts off and it's all welcomeness and good vibes and everything's cool, the second that they ask you to start selling your shit or trying to get you to move to another country or something, that's when you might want to, that's when you might want to step away. You also see a lot of groupthink here. Who am I to question it? Everybody else believes it. Everybody else is doing it, so I guess I should do it too. I don't want to be the standout. I don't want to be the one who's, questioning things, and so that played a lot into it, and it was just, I don't want to be chastised. These people are my friends. These people are my social network. I don't want to leave. And so it makes people do things that they might not otherwise do. Have you ever had a case where someone was in one of these cults or similar cults? I've met people in cults, but I haven't worked with people who were in cults, at least not to this extent. Oh no, wait, I did work with somebody once who was a Jehovah's Witness. There you go. Another friend of mine is a former Jehovah's Witness, and I've heard some horror stories about... Yeah, who would guess that the religion that doesn't allow you to celebrate any holidays would actually be, terrible? In the later days, Jim Jones was really controlling of members, they couldn't talk to each other. Yeah, I think, not to try to get inside Jim Jones's head or anything, but I think this sounded like it had, good intentions in the beginning, and then it just gradually became, more paranoid, more delusional. It's he probably had just, a maniacal ego, and he's just or very paranoid of outsiders and stuff. And so it sounds like just him being the front man for this institution just drove him mad. And then he took a lot of people down with him, and that's really sad. Wasn't he also on drugs? It was the 70s, so probably. Another really important psychological driver to mention is that this group reframed the concept of death as salvation. It was viewed as a revolutionary act. And that's a very dangerous belief to instill within somebody, because then their life is literally in your hands and they will throw down their life for you. And that's not something that you should just flop around all willy-nilly. So, this is... Where's my mouse? That's Jonestown for you. Jonestown's probably one of the most infamous cults in modern history. It's got, like, you know, the whole phrase, drink the Kool-Aid, comes from this. Like, very infamous. Most of us have probably heard of this before. It's been very well studied and researched. All right, let's talk about Waco. Let's talk about the Branch Davidians, a group led by David Koresh in Waco, Texas. We've got a picture of him here, you know, giving a sermon to a group full of people. I remember this. Many of you were probably alive for this. This group believed that Koresh was the final prophet who would lead their followers through the apocalypse. If you've ever played Far Cry 5, they kind of like the leader of Heaven's, or what's it, Eden's Gate. That's the name of the cult in the game. They modeled the leader of that cult. It's just this cult that lives in like rural Montana. They definitely modeled him off of David Koresh. He's a very David Koresh figure. He's even got like the glasses and the beard and the long hair. And he's also viewed as like the prophet who will lead them through the apocalypse. So, fun game if you're interested in playing a game where you have to, you know, fight an evil cult in the Montana countryside. Loved Far Cry 5. Where most people would recognize the Branch Davidians is from the conflict that they had with the federal government. The federal government, the FBI, and maybe the ATF, I forget. It's been a while. I watched a documentary on the Branch Davidians, but it's been a long time, so I forget some of the details. OPV, thank you for the 20 months. Waco and Ruby Ridge. Yeah, Ruby Ridge was another clash with the government that happened. Like one of those, like, yeah, and that was what inspired Timothy McVeigh to blow up the federal building in Oklahoma City. And so this clash with the government set off a lot of anti-government events. This was a time period where right-wing terrorism was recognized as one of the biggest threats in the United States domestically. They ended up in a standoff with the federal government. It was a 51 long day siege that ended with there being fire set to the compound. David Koresh set fire to the compound. It was kind of like a they're not going to take us alive type situation. I'm remembering more than now that we're talking about it, and it was like, it was pretty grim. Like, this guy was an egomaniac, and he had a very tight control on his followers, and so they were like, They were like, well, at least let out the children. And then they're like, no, we're not even going to let the children out. And so the government brought in like bulldozers and like backhoes and stuff, and they started like tearing down the walls of the compound to end the siege. And they set the compound on fire. There's a little picture of it. I didn't want to put a huge picture of it because it is like, you know, it's a picture of a building on fire, but, you know, this is another one that's been very well documented, and there's, you know, excellent documentaries about the topic. So if you're interested, you know, I would encourage you to check it out. My dad was a big far-right guy, and I had to hear about Janet Reno every day. Alright, what are some of the psychological drivers behind this one? The belief in the infallible leader. In Jonestown, even though they killed a lot of people, not everybody did it willingly. Some people did it unknowingly, and some people were forced to do it. That's how 900 people ended up dying. But with the Branch Davidians, these people were like very fanatical in their foundation of their belief. It really reinforced the us versus them mentality. That's a big part of what drives people into cults and what keeps people in cults is it's an in-group versus the out-group. And then this was directly enforced by outside pressure. It's like, oh, the federal government's here. It's like, all right, folks, it's the apocalypse. It's starting. The government's here. It's like, let's go. It's like, this is what we've been training for. And this was another one in which martyrdom was used as a way to prove devotion. Martyrdom is something that's very dangerous when it can be weaponized. When you can convince somebody that them sacrificing their life for the good of the cause is something very dangerous. All right, let's go outside of America. Let's go to Japan. Let's go to Japan, because they've got cults too. You thought cults were just an American thing, huh? Well, too bad. This one's freaky. Some of you might have heard of this one. Some of you, this might be new. Unshinrikyo. Shinrikyo? Are they still around? Could be. This was a Japanese cult led by this guy, Shoko Asahara. It blended a bunch of different beliefs, you know, from Buddhism, Hinduism, Christianity, combined with apocalyptic visions and science fiction. And so they were predicting that there was a coming world war and there was going to be nuclear Armageddon. This group actually committed a terrorist attack in the Tokyo subway. They released sarin gas that killed 13 people and injured thousands. So, what are the psychological drivers for something like that? First up, you have apocalyptic urgency that is being used to justify violence. If you feel like you're about to run out of time, or if you feel like the world's about to end, you will act more urgently in trying to get whatever message you have or accomplish whatever the goal you have. Like, well, gotta get it done. It's before the world ends. Saw a lot of fear-driven obedience in order to follow the leader's divine plan. This also factors in the appeal of being part of a world-shaking event. Which is one we haven't brought up yet, but it's something that I'd really like to just take a second to think about while I eat a potato chip. These guys made an anime too? The cattle farm in Australia where all their sarin was made is still in operation today under different ownership? Well, at least they didn't blame the cows. I have to look this up. What is this anime they made? Hold on. That's the most Japanese thing I've heard today. Well, of course they had an anime. Oh my god, they did. Holy shit. ACTron Furry Tier List Refugee in. Welcome in. We were just talking about a Japanese death cult that had an anime that they used as propaganda to recruit people. I bet the leader sang this too. They told people they would have superpowers. I could see how people would get suckered into this. Habitation? What the fuck?
真理の御霊再生朝原将校孫子孫子は原始仏典にも記載されている絶対の真理に到達するための修行によってさまざまな超越人力を身につけられました。そしてその神秘的な力によって宇宙の法則をはじめとするすべての事象に精通されると。
This is wild to me. Like, what's it about? It's just like him showing that he has special powers, and he's like, you can get special powers too.
だかって実は形状界で二人の破壊が噂になっていたんだよ。
They couldn't have hired a different voice actor. Pretty sure that's also him singing the intro.
でもあまりにもすごくて
エネルギーが一種のバリアとなって体を包み隠してしまうんだよ。君たちは私の超越人力を知っているはずなのに、それでもこれは想像を絶したものだったらしいね。
This is too much. Where I'm wondering is like, where did they go from this to committing acts of terror in a subway? Like, that's... Actually, this is a good talking point. Like, the open end of the funnel for a cult is pretty wide. You know, they'll promise you a place, sense of belonging, spiritual enlightenment, preparation for the upcoming like, you know. And so that's how they get you in. That's how they get their claws in you, and then that's when they start hitting you with the crazy ideas. Anyway, that's them. Let's go. Let's move on to... Here he is. The man himself. Marshall Applewhite. Heaven's Gate, 1997. Led by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. They believed that Earth was about to be recycled. If you wanted salvation, you needed to leave your human body and board a spacecraft, which was disguised as the Hale-Bopp comet that was going to pass overhead. That's the spaceship, and if you want it to carry you away, you have to let go of your mortal form. This one's really out there because there's a whole video that he recorded, or he recorded several videos actually. They have a whole archive page on YouTube that has all of their videos.
Hello, my name is Hot Praying Mantis.
The Heaven's Gate archive has all of their videos. Since this cult existed in the early age of the internet, they also have a website. They also all have the same stupid haircut.
Statement and went across the country for 9 months, holding meetings in one little town, one big town, one little town, one big town after another. Sometimes they got run out of town because people didn't like what they were saying. They thought that it was...
He was telling people that he is the reincarnation of Jesus and he brought God back with him this time. Well, PV, thank you for the gifted sub. I wanted to see some of his students. I'm like... He's just yapping. This guy just loved to yap at the camera, and so there's a bunch of videos of him just yapping at the camera for like an hour straight. Kind of relatable.
Doe could say, oh boy, I'm this, I'm really big shot. And yet I know.
Anyway, there's 12 of those videos.
Consume because I don't like what. And in that lab they recognized that they weren't getting anywhere. Open door again for the kingdom of heaven. The second coming is here. We've discussed that. And we've discussed how Jesus said, don't look for me. If somebody tells you they're me, don't believe them. And yet the information, the door is here at this time. Now whether or not they will know him, or whether or not they will know his Father, or they will know that kingdom, is simply dependent upon whether or not they make it through the transition from the human kingdom into his kingdom level.
The most famous video is this one where he sits and talks to the camera with the shaven head, and he's telling the story, and it just goes on for an hour, and I think he blinks maybe like 5-10 times the whole time.
It's the 29th of September, 1996. I'm Doe. Doe probably doesn't mean anything to many of you. To those that have heard of Doe, I might relate Doe to Tien Doe of UFO 2 or of a UFO cult that made some splash in the news 1975 and disappeared from the scene shortly after that. And some of you have heard some efforts that we have had to try to share a little bit of what we have learned with the public periodically between 1975 and now.
So they have been doing this for over 20 years. Going across the country, recruiting people, and over time they eventually got a sizable little following. There ended up being like 37 of them that passed away. And this was just some guy driving around talking to random people about he was actually the second coming of God and that we needed to transcend our mortal coil and be able to rise to the next level of human awareness or something.
Statement called 88 Update in 1988. And we did a little videotape.
Yeah, this was one of the tapes that you could order off the website and they would send to you. Planet Earth is about to be recycled. So there were two videos. One was Last Chance to Evacuate Earth, and the other one was Planet Earth is about to be recycled. If you ask
This
me,
is a very exciting time for us. Who is us? I'm Doe, for starters, and I have in front of me a number of students, or my classroom, or in old language, a couple thousand years ago, disciples. Those who are trying to prepare themselves for entry into the evolutionary level above human, synonymous with the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. We're going to talk to you about the most urgent thing that is on our mind and what we suspect is the most urgent thing on the minds of those who will connect with us.
I have to speed him up because, like, normal speed, he's just too slow.
We'll title this tape Planet Earth About to be Recycled. Your only chance to evacuate is
Do you
to
really
leave
believe this shit?
with
Oh,
us.
yeah.
Planet Earth about to be recycled. Your only chance to survive or evacuate is to leave with us. Now, that's a pretty major statement, pretty bold in terms of religion, in terms of anybody's intelligent thinking. To most people who would consider themselves intelligent beings, they'd say, well, that's absurd. What's all this doomsday stuff? What's all this prophetic stuff? You know, intelligent human beings should realize that everything has their cycle. They have their season. They have their beginning. They have their end.
So anyway, it's this for an hour. He goes into a little bit more detail, but it's basically just him rambling about this for an hour. And people bought into it. They tried to recruit more people by like sending it. You could like order DVDs, like, hey, we'll send this to your house. You know, they were a cult that was on the cutting edge of technology for the time. Their website is still active, heavensgate.com. You can order a hard copy of the book. You can get transcripts of the video. You can also email the representative that they left behind. They have not updated the website at all since 1997. But it's still active. They're keeping it going. So, 39 members died by suicide in order to ascend during the Hale-Bopp comet's passing. They thought that this comet was actually a spaceship and that they had to commit ritual suicide in order to ascend to be on the spaceship. And they also did it wearing tracksuits and new Nike shoes. I'll just show you this picture, it's just the shoes. So this one's a little bit out of the ordinary. I mean, none of these have really been in the ordinary, but we've had varying levels of like bizarre belief involved. With this one, you see that desire for transcendence and escape from worldly suffering. That's something that a lot of people can relate to. You know, I just want to be free from the pain that is around me. And this offered them an answer to that, even though that answer was a little unusual. Also, a lot of the people that joined this cult, they were alienated from modern society. They were, you know, like he said, like he was going around to different towns and they were chasing him out of the towns, and there was just this big recruitment effort over a span of years. And so they were finding people who had nowhere else to go, or they were finding people who were, you know, just desperate to feel like they belong to part of something. And so with this one, you also see that narrative that frames death as liberation. And that's Heaven's Gate for you. That one is... It's a wild ride. I would encourage you to, you know, if you're interested in any of these, I would encourage you to, you know, there's a documentary about it. There's all sorts of research that's been done on it. It's a wild ride. And the guy who ran the thing was a real character, Marshall Applewhite. All right, let's go broad, shall we? We've gone over some examples of some extreme instances of death cult behavior. Let's go a little bit more broad. Let's talk about some broader religious parallels. Something that you'll see as a common theme throughout the Abrahamic religions, for example, are strong apocalyptic themes. For Christianity, for example, Armageddon, the rapture, the final judgment, that moment when the faithful ascend to heaven while others face eternal punishment. It's a big part of the belief for people. Southern Baptists are horrible about this. Everything is death and fire and the end. Fear drives people in. You know, they're taking advantage of that fear. That's how they get people in. That's how they keep people attending. They make them really afraid of not participating. You also see apocalyptic trends within Judaism. You know, the belief in the Messianic era, when the Messiah finally does get here. The end of exile, the restoration of peace, often linked to the idea of collective redemption. You also see it in Islam. The idea of the day of resurrection. The idea of a final battle between the forces of good and evil and the divine judgment after the fact. There are some shared themes across these different traditions. First off, the idea that the faithful or the righteous are saved, while the outsiders perish. It's that us versus them mentality. It's the in-group versus the out-group. It's like, well, I want to be on the right side so that I don't suffer for eternity and I get to go to, you know, get to go sit on a cloud for eternity. This also ties back into that concept we talked about earlier of cosmic justice. This is the idea of cosmic justice finally arriving. It'll balance the scales between good and evil. You can see how it would be dangerous to have so many people that not only believe in this, but also want to see it happen. Another common theme that you see is the idea that the suffering right now is a part of the greater divine plan. Like, don't worry, we'll get our reward in the afterlife, or, you know, in whatever comes after this. It also provides people with hope that their current struggles are only temporary and that they will be redeemed in a final act of renewal. Like, I don't know about you, but just the idea that there's so many people that buy into these types of belief systems that are not only looking forward to, but actively trying to bring about the end of the world, it's like, that is frightening. You know what I mean? The self-fulfilling prophecy. It's true. I don't normally get scared of stuff, but this is the type of stuff that when I think about, it scares me. Just seeing the shit that's happening in the world and in our government, it's frightening, honestly. But anyway, not to get too real. Not to get too real, but it's important to talk about. I don't think we should allow a bunch of doomsday cultists to ruin things for the rest of us. So, let's talk for a moment about why this type of idea or why this type of mindset is appealing to people. Let's start off with the desire for significance. Being a part of the end feels larger than life. In a sort of narcissistic way, a lot of people want to feel like, yep, I was there for the end. I got to see how it all ended. A lot of people don't like the idea of life continuing to go on without them. Doomsday thinking also it also gives people a need, sorry, I'm having a hard time talking today. Doomsday thinking satisfies people's need for certainty. If I know how everything is supposed to end, I don't have to worry. I don't have to have that ambiguity. I don't have to question it anymore. It's like, all right, I know what's gonna happen, so I can start preparing for it. People find comfort in being special and feeling like they're set apart from others. And so there really is a thread of narcissism in that sensation of, I'm going to be one of the chosen ones. Yep, whenever the rapture happens and we're all floating up to heaven, that's going to be me. I'm going to be up there looking down on you and be like, sucks to suck, skill issue. It seems silly to believe that type of thing, but there are a lot of people who believe it, and you do need to take it seriously because these people exist. I mentioned before, but I was raised by a prepper. Yeah, like, doomsday prepping, for example, is another way that people will deal with these types of worries. Like, not everybody buys into religion, not everybody joins a cult, but people still have that feeling of like, I don't know how it's gonna happen, but something may very well happen and the world might end. And so a lot of people are preparing for the event, whatever that might be. But these types of groups, they tell you what the event will be. As scary as the idea of the end of the world is, if you're able to turn somebody's idea of death into the idea of salvation, it makes it less scary, it makes it less terrifying. It's a way to appease people's fears. Don't worry, things are going to be great for you once you ascend. Things are going to be awesome. You're going to love it. So put on this vest, here you go. And lastly, a sense of control. If the end is coming, at least it has a plan, and I have a role in that plan. Got a few more things we can talk about, a couple other things that really go into this mindset, that charismatic leadership. When you have a leader that has confidence and authority, it provides you with a sense of security. This could be a cult leader, this could be a passionate preacher, this could be... As long as they project confidence and authority, it makes you feel safe. People like to feel like they belong to a group, and if you get to belong to a special group, a group of chosen ones, that gives your life quite an important meaning and quite a sense of purpose, right? Like, wow, I'm special. I'm in on, like, I know something that other people don't. Like, I'm one of the chosen ones. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance that plays into this type of thinking, and that's why it can be so sticky. If somebody tells you a prophecy, like, hey, yeah, the world's gonna end in about 2 seconds, I have a prophecy. I've received a word from a divine being. They have visited me. It happened just now. You didn't see it because they weren't on camera. But they told me the world is gonna end in 3, 2, 1. Don't worry, chat. Our prayers have delayed the apocalypse. Because we were all such firm believers, we have delayed the apocalypse. We have more time to prepare. And we have more time to get the word out. And so sometimes failure can actually strengthen people's belief. Don't worry, chat, we did it. This type of thinking also can be a form of escapism. As somebody mentioned in chat, we had a doomsday prepper who was, and it was an escapism thing. It's nicer to face a terrifying certainty than a chaotic confusion. You know, I can't control when and where and how the world is gonna end, but at least I can do something about it. I can feel like I'm planning and preparing, and, you know, it allows me to feel, you know, allows me to feel better. Knowing that I've got a bunker and enough MREs to last a lifetime. There's a lot of social reinforcement that goes on in these types of groups. Once you're in the group and you're invested to that belief system, leaving means losing your community. It means losing your identity. It can mean losing your sense of purpose. So this is why it can be so tricky to get people to leave these belief systems. I think that's another part of why it's important to talk about this. You know, in times of social upheaval, people tend to gravitate towards these types of belief systems. And so we just want to be mindful of that. We want to make sure that people aren't going off the deep end. Mormons talk a lot about their deconstruction journeys. Leaving the Mormon church, they make it very difficult. They make it very shameful too. Like, they send you a letter, like, letting you know, like, by the way, you have been excommunicated. You have been excommunicated. God doesn't love you anymore, and you're going to super secret Mormon hell. I don't know if you know this, some of you might because we've talked about it before, but in the Mormon faith, you don't go to the lowest level unless you're a former, like, fallen Mormon. That's the only way to go to, like, super secret Mormon hell. Everybody else just goes to, like, normal, boring, regular, like, not even that bad hell. Alright, let's talk about Doomsday in modern culture. We're obsessed with it as a species, as we talked about. It's not just for cults, it's popular in all sorts of avenues. You see it in the news, you see it in movies, TV, video games, zombies, nuclear war, climate collapse, AI takeovers, fungal infestations. We're obsessed with the idea. How will it all end? So why are we drawn to these stories and these ideas? Well, they let us imagine the idea of surviving overwhelming change. Oh yeah, what would I do in the after? They're often a reflection of real fears of instability, whether political, environmental, or technological. And they give us a chance to explore that idea. What would I do if everything ended tomorrow? Am I prepared? Do I have enough firearms? Do I have enough bottled water? Do I have enough Jim Baker buckets? Con artist Jim Baker, another death cultist. He does the Jim Baker Show. which is actually based out of Branson, Missouri. And they sell like Doomsday survival products. Let's take a look at what's in their store. What do they got? Some water filtration. Do they have the buckets? Wow, their website is fucked up. Oh my god. Their website's jacked up. They don't have the buckets anymore? Oh my god. This is terrible. Their website's down. Oh my god. Oh my god. The website's down. It's too late. I waited too long. I'm never gonna get my giant thing of cheesy rice. We're just gonna have to go to YouTube.
Welcome to the Jim Baker Show. Here are your hosts, Jim and Lori Baker.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gray Street.
Hi there.
The man who discovered the blood moons is here with us.
Yes,
Martin
he
Bilks is back home. Thank you for coming back.
Great to have you back, Mark.
One thing, I don't know how many of you
If you don't know anything about Jim Baker, he's a long-running con man. He does this show where he sells like food buckets and survival stuff to old people, and he, you know, brings on all these quacks who are like, oh yeah, the Schneedel cycle, you know, we're entering our 13th Schneedel cycle, and that is definitely an indication that the second coming is about to happen. And so it's been going on since the 70s, and it's basically just been scamming old people of their retirement money the entire time. But yeah, that's Jim Baker. He's been to prison because, you know, he's been scamming people, and he uses that as like, oh, I'm a martyr. I've served time for our beliefs. And it's, yeah. Anyway, this is an edit of some of their
realize
footage.
it. I think most of you here do, because your audience is pretty sharp.
Oh, they are.
But just like you celebrate your birthday every year on your birthday,
I love that.
Yes.
most people may not realize it, but this coming Monday is the very day Adam opened up his eyes for the first time in the Garden of Eden, and he proclaimed God as King.
Wow.
That's the anniversary of the creation of the world.
Wow.
10 days later is Yom Kippur, the Day of Judgment.
Do y'all get that? Oh,
You don't see him on
you
his
get that,
calendar
people?
for 500 more years.
do y'all get that?
Wow.
Do y'all get that? You know, the people,
Incredible.
we're
Wow,
about
I
we're,
love that.
there's almost a month now before you can get your food.
Wow, that's good.
People are ordering food faster.
Wow.
In a few hours, there's going to be an event take place. And you won't get food for 6 months to a year.
We will be right back after this special message.
The collapse is coming. Doomsday clock for global market crash strikes 1 minute to midnight. You hear that, John?
Bible says you're going to throw gold and silver in the street. Tomorrow, we could look back and say, yesterday was the last day to order and get prepared.
This offer comes with 22 buckets, plus a bonus of 6 additional buckets for a total of 28 buckets.
I want to show you something. All this food is for a gift of $2,500. 8 years of bulk food. This is what you should be doing.
Wow.
John, you come on. You're the rights preacher. You told me to do this. Look at, they got shovels. By the way, get a shovel. These are foldable shovels. It'll go in your backpacks. This is how you dig the latrine. We made up. They've been cooking during the show.
Wow.
And this rice is hot. Woo, just me.
Yes, it just came out.
Wow, that's good.
Oh, I mean, they just cooked this rice, you know. I'm hungry. I've been on the
What
go
is
for
happening?
about 5 hours.
We watched a video on Doomsday cults, and so we're treating ourselves to a little bit of Jim Baker.
I love you, man.
I love you too.
Oh my goodness, I'm eating rice on the show. Okay. So you three guys, could you dump it into here? It's 22 gallons of rice. Here, John, you shovel it. Okay, shovel it back over there. It looks like a snow pile in there. Boy, look at the steam come out of it.
Wow.
Okay, look at this. Look at this. But what I love to put my hands in there, but it's hot. This is
The cheesy broccoli rice.
Look at the broccoli in there.
Wow.
Look at the broccoli.
That's good.
Why wouldn't you want that on the top of a pizza? If I went grocery out, I would eat right out of this shovel.
Wow.
Let's dump this in with the rice. There it goes. We're dumping 22 gallons into the rice. There it goes.
Wow.
Into the rice. Now I have 44 gallons. What if you have to survive for 2 years or 3 years? You're going to need some more food. But, oh my.
I have cheese all over my mouth, I'm sure. I need a napkin.
And you're doing
girls need
you
napkins.
put real broccoli in here, right?
There's 100% real broccoli.
But if these events take place, because the world's going to be on fire, and we never really dealt with, but if the world's on fire, there's not going to be anybody there to put it out.
Wow, that's good.
We ought to just get a bunch of bowls and serve it to the audience.
Right.
Can your camera, your camera, can you all see that? Look on the monitor. This is one bucket of pancakes. Look at the broccoli in there.
What do you do with the doo-doo?
Wow.
Welcome to the Jim Baker Show. Here are your hosts, Jim and Lori Baker.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gray Street.
Hi there.
So very happy to have you here with our very special guest, John Shorey is in the house.
Great to be here.
It's always great to have John all the way from southern, beautiful Arizona. Love it.
Give me your hand.
Yes.
You know, that's it. That's not a believer.
Yeah.
The problem is we got believers on believers.
Right.
But that's revealing they're not believers.
They're hypocrites.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
So tell us your new revelation on Matthew 24, would you? Or just what's going on in your mind
Let me
right
tell
now.
you, this is big.
Right.
This is totally huge. I leave my computer on for weeks until sometimes it gets jammed up and I have to reboot it.
That's right.
And it had been on all the way back to before I came here for the prophecy conference.
Let's just lay it like that so you can see the boat.
Does that make sense? You know, and
if you want to ship food, you get your orders in because we can get the food to you by Christmas. And
we're talking about Christmas that counts.
And you
so
know,
it needs to count
the thought hit
in your
me.
family.
There are
and your
gifts
loved
that they
ones
say, the gifts that keep on giving.
Yes.
Well, that's what this is. You know, for days and days and days, people will be thanking you and saying, "Boy, I'm sure glad my parents gave me this."
John, as I walk over,
right?
You know, I have enough food probably for 15
For
years.
$1,000, you can get 10
all my
buckets
family,
and
I don't
bonus
know.
shovels.
You don't know who all's going to show up.
Yes.
And who you're going to have to take care of. And
If only their website wasn't sold out, I would have.
These buckets can be used, like if you live in the city, they're going to be a porta-john for you to use.
Is this pudding I'm seeing over
That's
here?
pudding. That's dessert.
So that pudding is in every one of those buckets.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, so
That's
don't
right.
overlook.
Wow.
So we was talking about you can take this thick soup
That's
and you can thin it down. You can add vegetables to it and make it feed twice as many people.
Yes,
but
we
you're
do.
going to want to add salt and seasoning
right.
to it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I got to try some of this soup.
Sorry.
It's hot.
Sometimes he just gives me the giggles that he says things at a time when I'm sitting here holding this, trying to enjoy
Is
this
yours hot as mine?
amazing, lovely meal.
Is yours
Yes.
hot? Did they make it hot?
This is so good. Oh.
Do you
isn't
like
this
the flavor?
Awesome? The flavor is amazing.
Yeah, this is the Jim Baker Show. He's been doing this since the 70s. He basically just scams old people into buying his Doomsday food. And then he calls on like religious specialists. It's the whole thing. You know, it shows that there's varying degrees of Doomsday cults. Some of them just want to scam old people. Some of them want to, ascend to the next level and drink the Kool-Aid. This one just wants to drain your Social Security account.
it's restaurant quality food.
I mean, look at all the cream in this thing. This is what, when you say restaurant, it's like a chef made this because a chef puts a lot of cream. It
Wow,
looks like
I
they
love that.
made this with a lot of cream.
My husband's a very, very picky eater. And he started eating it and he said, this is really good.
Oh, it's good to know that.
Yeah!
The Picky Eater Society, it passes the test. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a plain Jane eater. Meat, potatoes, just plain, no onions, no olives, no nothing.
Right.
And no
That's
spices to speak of. And this had just the right amount.
Yeah! He's ready to have a whole meal here.
It was great.
It's totally gourmet.
Yeah.
You know what I
loved how
mean? The
plain it
highest class
was.
of food that you can get is what's in that bucket.
It's true, John. We have all these people here. And people, oh, I want to be so. People, and another thing that starts with P. People, well, they pee and we won't say the other word, okay? What are you going to do with the doo-doo? Do you have a plan? People eat, and people go to the bathroom.
Okay. Eliminate. Wow.
You say, Jim, that's nasty.
Well, it is.
What do you mean it's nasty?
Oh, brother. He said it.
I'm probably the only preacher in America that is concerned about your bowel movement.
This is great.
What are you going to shovel it with?
Oh, my goodness.
What are you going to dig a hole with? What are you going to do with the doo-doo?
A good question.
But what are you going to do?
It's true.
What are you going to do with it?
Honestly, Jim, I think, it started back when we were raising the kids and we used to check their poop all the time. You're supposed to check your kids, making sure they're having them, and it's very important. Isn't that true, Dr. Paul?
Absolutely.
And I think that's where it all started with him.
People get ready. There's a crisis coming.
Wow, that's good.
Are you prepared? Are you on board?
Yes.
The signs are all here. You see it in the air.
That's right.
Get your heart ready to meet the Lord. Come on.
That means the event
People get ready. There's a change coming. The prophets have spoken. Do you understand?
Sugar Biscuit, thank you for gifting those subs. Thank you for gifting that sub to please.
Joy and peace.
Oh my god.
If you got food and
I needed to lift the mood a little bit after we were talking about Doomsday cults, and we got a little too real there at the end, and we were talking about, you know, current events and stuff, and I'm like, I need to bounce back. I'm like, we need to take Doomsday cults in a much more like comedic direction.
Take it, Joe.
This is the craziest video. There's more, but I think that's gonna be that's enough for me for now. This was edited by Vic Berger. Vic Berger did work on the Tim and Eric show, and he's done some other, like, those types of, like, so if you like that style of humor.
You're taking care of your family. You can stack them in your garage. You can put them in the basement. You can put them under your bed.
Yeah,
I mean,
in your closets, anywhere that you have
figure
space
out-
for it. Get creative and start
Yeah.
stacking these in your home, keeping this food in your home accessible to you and your family.
One of the things we've done around here, we stick them under coffee tables and end tables. You just stack them up and then put a cloth over them.
Yeah.
Or get a piece of, cardboard or a piece of plywood, and you make a top, and then you just stack this food. You could have your whole living room with end tables and coffee tables made out of food buckets. Just do it.
Yeah.
You
And
know-
then after that year as well, to the Middle East, you'll be sending 600 days of food. So that's 3 years of food for you and 600 days to the Middle East.
Now, if you can't do
Where in the
this
Middle
whole
East?
year,
Wait, where in the
over
Middle
here we
East are
have
you
a
sending
half a
food?
year.
The food. So that's
Like 12 months, you pledge for 12 months to send food to the Middle East to stop Christian genocide. Like, where in the Middle East is that happening? Who's getting the food? They probably don't even say. I'm like, this place just exists to scam old people, right? Like, they're not gonna tell you, like, specifically where that money's going. Like, oh, this money, oh, it's going to stop Christian genocide in the Middle East, actually. Oh, well, sign me up. That's very important. Just trust us. It'll get to where it needs to go. Anyway, Jim Baker, he's been in prison. And he's been doing this show since the 70s. He also had a theme park. He's got quite a wild story.
When we talked in 1996, I asked Jim about his brand of Christianity. You had preached that God wanted his subjects to live a lavish or successful lifestyle. You quoted from the New Testament, "I pray you will be in good health as your soul prospers." Did you really feel that God was advising you to acquire material wealth?
I really felt that prosperity gospel was the truth. I really thought that God wanted us to not have any problems, not have any sickness, not have any pain.
Yes, but that's not the same as God wanting you to have lots of money, expensive clothes, huge salaries, lots of luxuries. We're not talking about health and pain.
Yes, yes. But I really sincerely believed in what I was teaching. Our ministry just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Their family, daughter Tammy Sue and son Jamie Charles, were part of the show.
My son Jamie just walked in. How you doing, Jamie Charles? Good.
But preaching family values wasn't the same as having a happy family. I
So
recently...
yeah, they've been doing this since the 70s. Jim went to prison. After he got out of prison, he just went right back to it. He's like, well, They're trying to shut us down. They're trying to silence us. You know, they're trying to, you know, and of course they just ate it up. Televangelism is a lucrative career. It's true. What you're seeing is that the same energy that pulls people into doomsday cults is the same thing that pulls people into, you know, anything that'll give them the answers that they feel like they need. Anyway, well, we got distracted. Have I watched Righteous Gemstones? No, but I've been meaning to. I think when I catch up on the show I'm watching right now, that'll be the next one. I've been a little distractible today. Forgot I had a whole slide left of the presentation. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Doomsday beliefs reveal as much about human psychology as they do about theology. They expose our struggle with mortality, our craving for meaning and belonging, and our temptation to see ourselves as uniquely important. In the end, doomsday thinking is less about the end of the world and more about our fear of living in it. Kenneth Copeland. Oh yeah, Kenneth Copeland, that man has demonic energy. Sugar Biscuit, thank you for gifting that sub to Big Dan Energy. Oops. I can't spell. Kenneth Copeland. This guy's scary looking. This is from that interview where somebody was asking him about why he needs, like, to be just flying around on a private jet and stuff, and he just makes a scary face and, like, it's, But yeah, televangelism definitely ties into, like, doomsday cults. You know, they're preaching a lot of the same ideas, the whole, like, fire and brimstone, and, you know, you want to make sure you're on the right side of God before the end of the world so that you don't get sent to the bad place. Anyway, this has been the presentation on doomsday cults. I hope you've had fun. My brain feels like scrambled eggs now, but we made it through. We made it through. The topic has that effect. Yeah, it does. You know, it's a big dark spot of the human psyche, and sometimes when you stare too long at it, it starts to stare back at you. And so I'm just like, I need a mental break after that. Oh, Suze, please, thank you for gifting that sub to the pork tree. I missed some of these alerts. Thank you, thank you. Holy moly. Great googly moogly. Queen Eclipse, welcome back. Good to see ya. Rumble might help. You know, I'm making shepherd's pie for dinner. Or I think Casey's gonna do it too. I think she wants to cook it, and so I'm gonna help her get the stuff ready. But we're gonna make a shepherd's pie for dinner. They had ground lamb at Aldi. Shepherd's pie sounds nice, doesn't it? Never had ground lamb. I'm gonna do like a 50-50 blend. I'm gonna do half lamb, half beef. That's the way I like to do it. I'm gonna do a pound of lamb and a pound of beef. I'm gonna make a big shepherd's pie, and I'm gonna eat a bunch of it, because I always do. So I make a big one. Or I might just make mashed potatoes and the filling and then just bake a smaller container of it and then just have some that's not in a container on the side. You could just have a deconstructed one if you want. I don't know. We'll see. Alright, we've got some questions in the box. I'm going to take a look at these. What happens if you talk to a Fed about being gang stalked? Depending on how you present psychologically, they may or may not take you seriously. Also, you would probably have to report it to the regular police first before it would go to the desk of a federal agent, but can they do witness protection? Did you witness a crime? Are you involved in some type of investigation or legal proceeding? I'm not going to say that gang stalking doesn't happen, because it can happen. But I feel like it doesn't happen as often as people feel like it's happening. Oftentimes it can feel, it's kind of like a paranoia thing. I feel like people are out to get me, people are after me, people are actively messing with me, and that's why my life is the way that it is. That's why I'm struggling so much. And so what I would suggest is, whether or not it is truly happening, we want to try to get the anxiety under control first, because that will make everything else easier. And so I would talk to somebody about managing that anxiety. So that way, whether or not it actually is happening, you can approach it with a clearer mind. For those who aren't familiar, gang stalking refers to the idea that you are being targeted by a group of people or an organization, and there are people who are, following you and messing with you and just basically doing things to interfere with your life. I'm not going to say that it's impossible, but that is a very dedicated and coordinated effort, and a lot of the people who are fearful of being gang stalked, if you're not a public figure or a celebrity or somebody who's a government official, it's the odds of this actually happening to you are near zero. Unless you somehow or some way pissed off somebody with way too much money who has the resources to hire people to surveil you and follow you and mess with you and just to mess with your head, it's it can often be a response to trauma. It can be a traumatic response. There's a lot of anxiety involved, and so I would say process the trauma, learn to manage the anxiety, and if you still feel like you're being gang stalked after that, then take it more seriously. But I would try to treat the underlying symptoms first, because this is one of those rabbit holes that a person can really get sucked into. It's a paranoid belief system that can reaffirm itself, and it can leave you feeling very isolated, very alone, and very, very stressed all the time, unless we're able to turn the course around sooner rather than later. The reality of the situation is that the FBI and other federal law enforcement agencies get calls like this all the time. They kind of filter them out. People who feel like they're being watched or spied on or followed, there's an overabundance of those types of calls, and it's really hard to figure out which ones are legit and which ones aren't, because it's a very common fear whether or not it's actually happening that amount of times. And so this is why I said the odds of being able to actually talk to a federal agent about being gang stalked, that's just not going to happen unless you have a pile of evidence that you can show them, and this is concrete proof that it's happening. Anyway, it's a stressful mindset to be in, so if you feel like that's happening to you, I hope that you find peace and comfort, because you deserve it. I've worked with people who have had those types of delusions before, those types of thoughts that people are out to get them, and it's a very stressful place to be. It's you feel bad that they're always so worked up all the time. And these are often people who have a lot of trauma and a lot of anxiety. If you can work on making those better, you might not have that fear anymore. Alright, my ex and I agreed to be friends at the start of August and exchanged our stuff this month after he ghosted me for 4 months. Last week, my ex texted me randomly to see how I'm doing. I was chill and normal. Then he ghosted me the day after. It's been a week now. I feel like a fool for replying. You feel like a fool for playing his foolish game? Maybe we were a fool to play the foolish game with the fool. But that's fine. We all be a little foolish sometimes. It happens. We can all be a little foolish sometimes, but you recognized it early. You're not sitting around waiting for him to when's he gonna get back to me? I hope he's okay. It's been a week. Maybe I should text him again. It's no, you caught on to it early, so good job. Good job. That's exactly what you would want to see. Like, he has no business knowing me like that. Also, he still has me blocked on Instagram. My guess is he doesn't want his new potential girls to see I exist. I never brought up that he has me blocked. I never did anything to be blocked, FYI, or he wanted me to, like, flirt, and I didn't. It was probably that. It was probably an attempt at a booty call or something. That's my guess. I was just civil. Like, why would I make crude jokes with a friend, also someone who broke up with me via Discord? They broke up with you via Discord. You can do better. You can do better, I know it. You can do better. Broke up with me via Discord, then left for a few months. Yeah, that's childish behavior. So, good riddance. It's somehow even worse than a text, right? It's on the same level as, like, they did it over Snapchat. Yeah, they broke up with me over Snapchat. The best way to break up with somebody is over, like Venmo or Cash App or something, and to send them a request, and then where it says what the charge is for, you say, for wasting my time. That's the best way to break up with somebody. Yeah, honestly, questioner, I think you're over this person, so just move on with your life, you know? Good riddance. You don't need to play these childish games with this childish person. You're living, you're learning, you're growing up, and we're here for it. Break up through carrier pigeon? Break up through singing telegram. Do they still do singing telegrams? I'm sure they do. You could also hire a mariachi band to play while you do it. Or, you know, you could hire a clown. Hey, Baba. I've weighed the same amount for most of my life. In college, I was underweight by about 10 pounds and got worried since it took a lot for me to get back to where I was. Growing up, my mom would say I looked malnourished and point out how bony I was, which I really wasn't until my depressed phase in college. My family is overweight themselves, so I know that made me look even thinner in their eyes. Yeah, that's definitely one part of it. It's like if they're all a little bit thick, if they're all a little bit big-backed, it's, yeah, they're gonna point out just how thin you are. But that just goes for anybody who belongs to a group where there's like a more normalized appearance and everybody else by comparison. It's like, you know, people just have a nasty habit of pointing out people's physical differences when in general it's just kind of rude to do. You know, like people tend to notice different things about people who are outside of their social group. Like, wow, look how tall that person is. Look how short that person is. Look how fill in the blank that person is. It's just kind of distasteful, you know? Like unwarranted, unwelcomed, unasked for commentary on somebody's physical appearance. I think we're moving past it as a society. I've always done sports and was very active. Since finishing college about a year ago, I've been less active, especially with a job where I'm at a computer all day, and worked on gaining some weight for a bit. Now I'm at a point where I'm 20 pounds more and was happy with it for a while. My boyfriend will make jokes about how I'm gaining weight while I've told him many times to stop since I've always been self-conscious. Yeah, he needs to cut that shit off. Like, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. Joking about somebody's weight, that's never cool. That's never cool. I don't care if you're a guy doing it to a woman. I don't care if you're a woman doing it to a guy. Don't do it. Don't joke about your partner's weight. Don't do it. It's never good. It never ends well. It's not funny. It's not cute. I've asked him to stop, since I've always been self-conscious about my physique because of the comments my family would make. Recently, I've been looking in the mirror and feel like I'm having body dysmorphia. I've always been thin and muscular, so seeing myself with the extra weight is just so different. I want to get back into physical shape, meaning getting back some of the muscle, not necessarily being worried about body fat. I was just wondering how I can get over these dysphoric feelings and not being so hard on myself when I look in the mirror. Thank you. I want to talk about what I found helpful. As somebody who historically can sometimes feel a bit disconnected from the person that they're looking at in the mirror. You know, this is something that happens to people. We get a little dysphoric. We look in the mirror and we're like, I'm not sure, like, that's me. Like, it doesn't feel like me. I don't feel like that person that I see. And there's a disconnect between us and our reflection. And so, for me, the solution to this wasn't looking in the mirror more. It was trying to feel my body from within. And so I started doing like mindful stretching. I started doing yoga. I started just practicing body awareness, just feeling my physical form, just feeling what it's telling me, you know, opening up to my sensory information. Just trying to feel what it felt like to be me. And what I found was that that helped bridge the gap between the way that I felt I was and what I looked like in the mirror. Feeling more comfortable with my physical form starts from within for me, and it ends in the mirror. Does that make sense? That's what I found helpful, is just feeling more in tune with the body that I occupy. And then becoming more comfortable with my reflection after that. Oftentimes I feel like we like to start with the mirror and then work backwards, but I think we want to work up to the mirror. You want to feel comfortable in your physical form. And if you can reaffirm that feeling, that it doesn't matter if you have a few extra pounds, it doesn't matter if your hair goes a little gray, it doesn't matter if you get a little new wrinkle here or there, it's okay. Because on the inside, you feel good, and you feel comfortable with who you are. And the outside, that's just a reflection. There's a certain type of medication, or meditation, not medication, meditation. It's like a body scanning meditation. You just meditate on different parts of your body and you try to activate them. You try to feel those parts of your body, and it's about increasing the level of awareness you have within your physical form. It'll help you to feel more in tune with your body. And it'll make it feel a little less jarring when you look in the mirror and you see that reflection. It'll make sense. It'll be like, oh yeah, that is me. Yep, that seems about right. I think part of the reason why this happens in people is that internal sense of who you are doesn't change very often, or it changes like very slowly and we don't normally really... Anyway, the internal sense of you could be largely unchanged from the time you were a kid. You know, you have this internal sense of, who am I? What am I all about? What kind of stuff do I like? And your reflection in the mirror grows and changes, and sometimes it feels like there's a disconnect between who I feel like in here and what I look like out here. It's kind of like, do you remember The Lion King? Do you remember The Lion King where Simba looks in the water and he sees his reflection and he thinks it's his dad's face, but it's actually his face? So one of these days you're going to wake up and you're going to realize, oh, I'm a big cat now. I've got claws and teeth. Hakuna Matata, motherfucker. Casey is a cat today. No, she's doing a furry thing. It was I don't know why she's doing it exactly. Anyway, I'll send you over there and you can ask her yourself. Because that's gonna be it for me today. That presentation on Doomsday Cults really took it out of me. It really took it out of me. So I think I'm cooked for now. That's gonna be it for me. But I hope you all have a great night. Thank you all for hanging out. We'll be hanging out in the Discord if you're not there already. Come by and say hi. We did movie night last night. That was fun. We watched the new Superman, which I liked it. I liked it. I know Rorschach didn't, but, you know, sometimes we have disagreements. It's okay. It felt like the Superman movie we needed right now. There were some very thinly veiled political allegories in the film. It was they laid it on very thick. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. The movie felt like a comic book, and that's nice to see. You know, the colors were vibrant. It was, you know, it was filmed and framed in such a way that it just kind of felt like this is a comic book. So anyway, I thought it was good. I would recommend it if you are interested. It was a pretty good movie. Woke Superman, highly recommend. I'm cooked. I'm cooked, partners. I'm cooked. Hope y'all have a good night. I'll see you all later.